Would I have ever picked to go on a ward like that? Never in a million years. It was not something of interest to me, but it was phenomenal and I learnt so much and ended up being so much more than I was expecting. So I think the key message is don't write off opportunities. Don't write off experiences. If something's presented to you and it's not something you envisioned, it's not something that you saw yourself doing, give it a go, because you never know what it might lead to or what you might get out of it.
Hi everyone, today we're joined by Stef Pedersen, specialist midwife, clinical educator, and someone who knew early on what she loved, but still had to navigate uncertainty, the long odds, and the messy middle that comes with building a meaningful career. Laura, she also had to deal with the sort of the sister as well, didn't she? Stef's story is what was that, Laura?
The best sister.
The best sister. It does say that in the show notes. Stef's story is powerful, not only because of her best sister, but it blends two things young people rarely hear together: clarity and openness. She knew midwifery was her direction, but she also discovered how important it is to keep options open, Laura. Follow your interests and also take small, brave opportunities along the way.
In this conversation, Stef talks about intrinsic motivation, the role of effort, how to advocate for your child simply and respectfully, and why trusting your gut can guide you through moments where the future feels overwhelming. She also shares how unexpected experiences from tough placements to supportive mentors shaped her confidence, identity, and purpose. If you're a parent supporting a young person through subject choices, ATAR stress, or uncertainty about the future, or if you're a teen trying to figure out what's next, this episode will offer reassurance, clarity, and a grounded insight. Welcome to this episode of More Than a Score. Help yourself.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what I think of.
Who's Clive Owen?
Right, he's like an English actor. I used to have a man crush on him. Everyone has a man crush on
So in your head, that's how you sound.
No, I just wish I was like, and also potentially looked like Clive Owen.
I don't know who he is. I have no idea who he is either. I was originally thinking of Clive Palmer.
Yeah, I do wish I sounded like I'm non-partisan. I'm happy to also sound like him.
Okay, we have a very special guest here, Stef, and I'm going to do the introduction. And in all transparency, Stef is my sister, so I've known her pretty much most of my life, except for 2 years and 8 months, I think. So we've got Stef described as an opportunity grabber, a deep thinker, Duke of Edinburgh survivalist and adventurer, which when I went back to read your pre-form, I'd actually forgotten because I don't think I would describe you as a survivalist or a camper. Fair. And yet these are the things that you brought up as something really important for you in your education. Novice camper.
Yep.
Expert midwife. And when I say expert midwife, like the most knowledgeable, passionate midwife I've ever come across. Picture of calm in stressful situations, motivated, quietly determined and driven, an acquirer of health knowledge. So I think that you are in that space, someone who is always hungry and driven to learn more and to be the best you can be in that space. Mum of two, specialist midwife, and now an official guest of the podcast. Welcome, Stef.
Thank you.
Oh, what an intro.
I know. I was a bit like, oh, that's very nice.
All your delivery. And Stef, the fact that you lived this out too, we should say that as well.
Yes. So the first thing we always ask on the podcast is, were you happy with your score? Yes, I was happy with my score. I thought it was very reflective of the hard work I put in. Yeah. I was very determined in year 12. I wanted to get into a particular course. And so I worked my butt off to make sure that I would get into that course. And in the end, I got a score far higher than what I needed, which I think was just a reflection on the hard work I did for the year. Yeah. So considering the score you got was so much greater than the one that you needed, what was it that made you want to get the best score versus trying to just get a score to get you in? Like, why did you go for the best score that you could possibly have gotten? Well, at the time, the course I wanted to get into was going to be brand new, which meant it had never been offered before. It was a double degree in nursing and midwifery, and so the score was unknown. So it could have ended up being 98, it could have ended up being 75. No one really knew. And I thought they were only going to take a small number of people, and I just wanted to make sure that you don't really know what your score is going to be in year 12. You sit your exams, you sit your SATs, you don't know what you're going to get out of the end of it.
And we didn't have ATAR predictors and stuff like that then. Like we really were going in blind.
I think we were the original ATAR predictors though, right? We just go, I'm predicting it'll be good enough.
Well, I mean,
didn't have actual tools to do it though. That's
my year level was the first year or second year I think they did SACs. Before that it was CATs. So it was still quite a new way of doing VCE at that time.
There's a lot of acronyms we've just thrown around.
Oh, yeah.
SAC is a
school assessed coursework, and a CAT, I couldn't even tell you what it's.
Curriculum assessed task? I don't know. I'm making this up.
All I know is that the reason they kind of did away with that is because it was like a term-long project that you ultimately could work on at home. And so people were getting people to support them and help them.
Yeah.
And then...
I did it, so I was in school.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of...
brother had to do CATs, and then I did SACs.
SACs, yeah. I did SACs as well.
Steph, so really interested to hear the fact you gave a really lovely clue just then. You said, I had to work hard. So why did you have to work hard? What was the reason for being motivated to work hard?
I had always wanted to be a midwife. Always. And I was very fortunate in that I knew exactly what I wanted to do in life. And I'm a very hard worker anyway. I'm naturally quite smart. So it wasn't challenging, but I just was motivated and I was determined and I wanted to be a midwife.
I had down here, I was really motivated was a key quote that jumped out. So what is, for someone sitting there listening to this, what does really motivated actually look like if we were there watching you?
Yep. So I am such a nerd. Like there's no lie.
Welcome to the club.
Yes. Massive nerd. I did extra work. I would be bothering my teachers with, I can't even remember what we did in English, but I would write extra pieces. I remember to the point that the English teacher's like, you can stop now. Like, you have done enough. And to be fair, when I went into my exam, my question I was given on one of my books was literally one that I'd done a practice exam on. So it was easy because I was like, I've already done this. And I just pretty much rewrote it because nothing was foreign to me because I had done so much prep work. Maths was not my strong point, so I didn't do anything extra in that. And I thought, whatever score I get in maths will just be one of my subjects that doesn't count. Because I think at the time you had 5 that counted.
4. It's still the same.
Yeah.
4 that counts. English always counts. It's always in your top 4. And then you get the 10% for the other 2 or 3 if you do 7.
So I knew maths was going to be one of those. So I didn't do anything extra in that because I don't like maths. But yeah, I think that's how it worked.
Yeah. So really motivated. So why midwifery? I know we're probably going to get into that later on, but because the thing I was thinking is with your school experience, so you knew you wanted to be a midwife, but you still did it sounds like a range of subjects too.
Yeah.
So was that because you really just loved school as well? Like you loved learning?
I did like learning. Yeah, I did like learning. The subjects I picked were subjects that interested me. So I did biology, health, phys ed, I did English, methods and Italian. So random things, but if you look at what subjects I did, health, PE, biology were all sort of connected and that was my interests. So I liked those subjects. Italian was fun. So I did that because I had a fun class, I had a fun teacher and it was something different that I thought, I never really got anything out of it.
No, excuse me. We went to Italy and we had a friend who had sort of cozied up to this gentleman and Steph was listening to their conversation and she's like, I think he's married because she'd listened to his conversation in Italian, so saved her the heartache because he was in fact married and not a suitable person for that friend.
And I think we would have seen that in the course outcomes for Italian.
Yes. Saving friends from inappropriate suitors. Yes.
One of the outcomes. So you did, that's really interesting. So out of all the subjects that you did, you had a really strong interest and connection to like 4 or 5 of them. And then maths, it sounded like, was one that you just were going through knowing that you had to do it.
It was a prerequisite. So I had to do maths and English. They were the prerequisites. And I did methods because apparently general was too easy. So I was pushed into the methods stream. And I still laugh about this because my year 12 maths methods teacher literally taught the smart kids in the class. He would
smart, we say in inverted commas, right? The maths
focused kids. So 3 of my friends and I would sit on one side of the room and then the rest of the class would sit on the other side of the room. And he literally taught the other side of the room. Didn't even look at us, didn't even register we're in the class. And then we went to parent-teacher interviews, and I vividly remember him saying to me, "What do you want to do when you finish school?" And I think at the time when he told me about that, I didn't know about the double degree because it was coming in. So I was going to just do nursing and then do midwifery later. And I said, "I'm going to do nursing." And he said, "What score do you need for that?" I think it was like 70 at the time. And he goes, "Good luck." I still remember that.
In a tone of he didn't think that you could achieve that.
Yep.
And what impact did that have on you in that moment and after that?
I just remember thinking, I'll prove you wrong. I remember thinking, I'll prove you wrong. And still to this day, I would love to go and hand him my score and be like, I proved you wrong. And I did quite well in maths as well. Yeah, so...
I think we still can. I think this should be a follow-up that we just reach back out like, hey, listen up. But then do they say, you're welcome?
Well, I don't
know. Well, that's it, right?
Probably it is. Oh, he'd be well retired. He'd be well retired. Yeah, I think he'd be well retired and potentially would have no recollection of someone like me. But yeah.
I'm really fascinated because, and sorry, Laura, I'm jumping in because
go for it.
I'm really, really curious with Stef's experience at school because something that you are picking up already is so you're deeply motivated. But I remember you also saying that there wasn't necessarily a huge number of positive experiences. So I'm really interested to know, like, what's the driving force for you to want to do so well and to keep pushing yourself? Because I think having someone like you on this podcast is so great to just hear what are the things that really add to your motivation, what are the things that people could spot or look for in their own kids or themselves to help them stay so motivated. Yeah. So shorter question. What was the driving force that motivated you?
It was all intrinsic. It was all in me.
Yeah.
It was, I would never have thought I was a particularly motivated person, but I'm realizing that I am. If there's something I want to achieve, I will set my mind to it and I will make it happen. If you ask me to run a marathon, I'll go, no chance. You couldn't pay me to do something like that. But if it's something that I want to do, I just have that motivation in me to work for it and to utilise what I've got around me. So I would go to my teachers for extra help. I would seek out those opportunities because I didn't want to rely on them coming to me. I went to them. So it was all just an intrinsic motivation.
Tell me about that because I've actually mentioned this on the podcast before where, because I was the first going through year 12, I didn't really know what you were supposed to do. I kind of just did what the teacher said. And so I certainly wasn't the person you were looking at going, I do it like that, because you did it completely differently to me. How did you know to do that? Like, how did you know, well, I'll just do it like this when there was really no one before you that mirrored that kind of experience?
And my friends used to laugh at me because they were like, why are you doing extra work? Why are you going to the teachers? They were polar opposites to me.
And I would say culturally that wasn't a very common thing that people were doing in the school that we were at either.
No. And I had a lot of older teachers. A lot of my teachers were older. They weren't that fresh face that wanted to give you the extra time. They would do it. They were happy to do it. I don't know what made me do it. I just did.
Could you picture where you were going by putting in this effort?
Yeah.
And what was the thing that you pictured?
I was going to get into the uni degree that I wanted, and I was going to achieve the career I wanted.
And what did you see with that? Like, sorry to keep asking, but I'm just really fascinated to know because there's a book by Dan Pink called Drive, and it talks all about intrinsic motivation. And a really key part is if it's emotionally compelling, if you really can see it, and if you can picture ways to get there, you're more likely to be intrinsically motivated. Yeah. So I'm really fascinated to hear, like, what was the thing you pictured in your head at uni, past uni?
So the backstory to becoming a midwife, we lived down the road from a hospital that did midwifery, and our dad used to work there.
Yeah.
And I always loved babies. I was always playing with dolls. I was always, anyone that had a baby, I was always cuddling them. Like,
she was.
No, it's like that was just how I was. And so Dad would take me to the hospital, we'd see the babies, I'd talk to the midwives, that sort of thing. At one point I thought about being a paediatrician, but I got that out of my head pretty quickly when I realised paediatricians work with children right up to teenagers. And for me, it was all about babies. Like, I loved babies. When I was year 10, I somehow managed to get work experience on a maternity ward. Again, no idea how I did that, but I did. And it was at Epworth in the city. So I made the trek up there. I did that. So I actually got to see what a midwife does. And I was like, yeah, this is me. this is exactly what I wanted to do. I even had this awesome midwife that's like, you're coming to birth weight with me. You're not supposed to, but I'm taking you to birth weight, even just for a couple of hours. So I got to experience birth weight. I got to experience all of it. And I just knew that's what I wanted to do. So just wanted to do it so badly that I was just going to. Even when I got the score I got, people said to me, well, don't you want to do something different?
Yeah, I was going to say, I still remember it was Mum, you and I, and we clicked on the screen and the number came up and we were like,
so all of you
we were all around the computer screen together.
Yeah.
And we were...
It's a bit of pressure, Steph.
Oh, it was so exciting. It was the most exhilarating thing to see that number come up. But yeah, the conversation after was, well, why would you do nursing now? Because you've got this score.
Yeah.
You could do quote unquote so much else. And that was something you had to kind of deal with.
Yeah. But I knew what I wanted to do. I remember people saying, well, why don't you be a physio? I thought, that's not what I want to do. Yeah, it's just not what I want to do.
Yeah.
And physios are amazing and they're incredibly knowledgeable, but that just wasn't for me.
Yep.
It just wasn't where I saw myself or what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Can I just jump in? We talked with, and you were listening to the Lyle episode, we talked about the idea of play as a kid and how that gives you glimpses into the things that you just love naturally without being told anything else.
Yeah.
So talk about how you played, because Dan and I have spoken about this so many times. Like, she was like 12 walking a pram down the street.
Well, we grew up with another family down the street. So my best friend growing up, her and I, we always play with dolls. And now I'm a midwife, she's a hairdresser. We've gone in very different paths. It just was what I was drawn to. It was what I gravitated to. And as a midwife now, so much of my job is the women. It's not all about the babies. And it's a privilege to work with the women when they're pregnant. So the babies are beautiful and I love still working with them, but my job is predominantly with adults and the women and helping them on their journey to motherhood. And it's an absolute privilege and an honour. So as much as my drive to be a midwife was that I love babies, once I worked out what a midwife was, I was like, yeah, this is for me. This is where I need to be. Yeah, so it's just always been in me.
So based on what you're saying too was, so you had this really clear picture of where you wanted to get to, but things that have helped contribute to that. So I'm just, again, thinking of someone sitting there listening is, so your dad would take you down, so spotted that this was an area of interest, took you to see it. Yeah. You then got to experience it. That then led to you doing some sort of crafty way to get an application, or you somehow lucked out with your work experience.
Yeah.
But already sort of getting a sense of knowing you would have sort of made this happen where you applied, you got onto the maternity ward, so you got to see it in action.
Yes.
You were leaning in. Because of that, a person then said, hey, you can come and also see this thing.
Yes.
So you had a really clear picture of what it could entail. And it just also happened that matched what you actually wanted as well.
Yeah. I was very mature. So even as a Year 10 student, I was quite a mature Year 10 student. So it would have been pretty easy to see that this was something I really wanted to do and something that I was really open to experiencing. And I think that's why the midwife said, come with me, come see this sort of thing. Yeah. Because I work with students now, I work with newly qualified midwives now, and some of them are mature, but a lot of them aren't. They're very young, and I can see how I was different. Yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like you created a really positive experience for yourself through school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because even the fact that you hounded and asked the teachers for more.
Yeah.
And I think even some of the research or the studies that have been coming out is one of the key indicators of success is the number of practice questions that kids actually do. And and you were just nodding professionally then.
Yeah. So many.
More times, deliberate practice you put in. So you seem to really just drive and own your success yourself because you had a really clear picture of what you wanted.
Yeah. And there was a conversations because I'd gone through Year 12, and I think by that time, Mum certainly was kind of like, oh, this school isn't really doing a whole heap for their kids. Like they're kind of just, coasting along. So you had the offer to go to a different school. Mum's like, would you want to go to this other school that is more high achieving, that is more, and what was your response?
No. Even though the school wasn't great, my experience at the school was great. My friends were beautiful. The experiences I got were beautiful. So I didn't want to leave the school, but I think that conversation probably helped me make that decision that I'll just have to ask for extra help. I'll make the most out of the school that I'm at.
Yeah.
So for any parent or anyone that's going through like a transition or a change or some sort of thing that they're working towards, given all your experience, what is an opportunity that you'd recommend for people to seek out through their education or through school? Like thinking of everything you've done.
That's a great question. That's a great question. I think schools have a lot to offer, but they also are missing things. And I haven't been in high school for a very long time. I don't know a lot about high school, but I think there are definitely different schools around and they can cater to kids differently. So the school I went to, it had all the subjects I needed. It had everything I needed, but don't be afraid to push for your child or to ask for extra stuff, because your kid might not want to leave the school. They might be really happy at the school, but it might not be fulfilling what they need. So don't be afraid to be their advocate. Because if you have that conversation, it might be all you need to have. If you don't ask, you don't know.
Yeah. So if you're a parent, you're saying you could go in, if you see there's an interest that your child has, you could go in and actually talk to the school and say, what else have you got that might be an offer for this? Or this is something I've noticed. Have you got some other options that we could explore or consider?
Yep. Is there an extension on this subject? My youngest is in grade 1 and he has a phenomenal teacher this year who has recognised that he needs to be pushed. He is ahead in maths and he's ahead in reading, and he recognised that within the first term. And he pushed him and he gave him extra work. And I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to say anything, but he recognised that. And I'm so grateful because it means my child is enjoying school. He's not getting bored at school. He's not coming home unhappy because he's been challenged.
Yeah.
And that teacher recognised that on his own. And I'm so grateful for that. And I would like to think that high school teachers could do that for their kids as well if the curriculum they've got doesn't quite meet their needs.
The second school that I taught at, we had a mum called Tennille who did the exact same thing. She turned up, her 2 boys were really, really interested in maths and science. And they asked about a program, and in the end, it led to us. The school never engaged in Tournament of the Minds. I don't know if there's a thing there. So, and the school at that time wasn't doing it, but because this mum Tennille turned up and asked the question, it led to us rolling it out and doing it across years 3 to 6. Yeah. And all these kids started engaging. We had like over 30 kids
got
involved. Yeah, because someone advocated and just asked the questions.
Yeah.
As you were explaining that, it just really resonated. I thought it's such a great, simple way to just help people.
Yeah.
Should we move on to the journey post-school? Do you want to do that or do you want me to do that?
Do you want to? Your smile says you'd like to do it.
Oh, because I honestly liked it with me. I did, but I'm also like crazy proud. I really am. I'm really proud for people to be able to hear your journey and your experience because I just think...
no, sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say there's a real buzz from Laura today on this couch. She's literally bouncing up and down. So anyone they can't see it. So she's getting a sense very proud. So
yeah, I am. I'm very proud. So you completed high school, did incredibly well. You then moved into the double degree of nursing midwifery. Am I right though in thinking that kind of started halfway?
Yes.
So you started the nursing and then you had to pick up the midwifery halfway through. Was it the first year?
Can you explain that?
Please, yes.
So in year 12, Deakin advertised that they were going to start a double degree in nursing and midwifery. At that time, no other universities in Metro Melbourne was doing it.
Because what was the qualification for midwifery? Was it?
Straight Bachelor of Midwifery.
Oh, got it.
So you did a Bachelor of Midwifery or a Bachelor of Nursing, or the other avenue into it was that you did your Bachelor of Nursing degree, worked as a nurse, and then did a postgraduate qualification in midwifery. So the double degree was new and they just advertised it the year I was in year 12 and I thought, awesome, that's what I get to do. Get to the end of year 12 and there was some issues in getting it over the line. So the year I started university, it hadn't started yet. So I had 2 options, either defer for a year and wait and hope it would come in, or I could start my nursing and then attempt to transfer. So that's what I did. I started my Bachelor of Nursing degree, and at the end of that year, they asked for people who wanted to apply to move into the double degree. They were only offering, I think, about 24 places in the whole double degree because it was brand new. It was the pilot. They'd never done it before. And of those 24, only 3 people were in my position where they had started their nursing and transferred in. So everyone else had come straight from straight from high school, except for 3 mature age students, and then the 3 of us that had done our nursing and transferred in. So that meant my journey was very different to everybody else's. And I'm actually really grateful that my journey was like this, because I finished the nursing component of my degree before my midwifery, and I had the opportunity to work. So I applied for a nursing graduate program while I was finishing my midwifery degree, and forever grateful for that, because I got to work in the intensive care unit. I got to work in some crazy busy nursing wards, but it actually gave me the experience in nursing that most people don't get when they do the double degree. Because these days, if you do the double degree, your graduate year is 9 months midwifery and 3 months nursing. So the fact that I had 12 months and got the experience in ICU and that sort of stuff was really cool.
And the expectation that they had, which I actually believe you were one of like such a small group, where they expected you to follow 30 women from pregnancy to birth to postnatal. Yeah. I still remember, because this is the time of like we're having 21st and 18th, and Steph was like constantly waiting for somebody to go into labour the whole time. She's like, I don't know if I'll be able to stay for this party. Somebody's due. And we got to the point like in our community, anyone that's like, I'm pregnant, I'm like, oh, can Steph follow you? Can Steph just, because didn't we had any friend that was pregnant, anyone that we kind of knew that was a friend of a friend. We're like, Steph needs 30 people. Like, how many people can we find in 3 years that are going to fall pregnant? And it was a huge undertaking. And what did they drop it down to?
In my final year, so that it had been 30. So I had probably done about 20, because I was very fortunate in that word of mouth went around and people would ring me.
Yeah.
So I was really lucky that I found it really easy to recruit the pregnant women. But in my final year, they dropped it to 5. Yep.
So that 30 was such a huge undertaking.
So it had dropped to 5, but you had to do 2 in your final year. So I still had to do 2 more. It was wild. There's periods of my life that I just have no recollection of, because I was either on placement, I was also working myself, or I had 2 women birthing the same night. I'd gone from one hospital to another hospital.
Yeah.
Like it was, but
And how old are you at this point?
Would have been like 19, 20, 21.
Oh, and I'm trying to think. The most organised I was then was which bar I was going to.
Well, this is and that's what I mean.
Prices.
Every time we'd go out, and we had a nice social life.
But have a nice social life.
But yeah, Steph would be like, oh, I don't know about tonight. Somebody's due.
Yes.
And I mean, in terms of the following, like you went to all of their appointments. Can you imagine? Like that was hard enough for me to do on my own.
Yeah.
She had to go to all the appointments, and then you had to try and make the birth.
Yes.
So it sounds like you got a really, really deep understanding.
Yeah.
Because of that, the unintended consequence, I guess, is, and they reduce the numbers.
Yes.
But even just to quickly pause so something that I think is really interesting is you got into the system and then transferred.
Yes.
So I think that's a really great takeaway for people too, is to get in and knowing that you've still then got options to be able to move as well. Sorry, Loz,
No, please go. No,
but I could have gotten to that point where I was applying for the courses, found out that it wasn't starting, and I could have just said, not for me anymore. I could have changed it to just do a Bachelor of Midwifery. I could have thrown in the towel altogether, because I was so motivated on doing this that when it wasn't an option, I had to rethink about it. And I'm grateful that I just decided to just start with nursing and then see what happened after that, because it's been such a positive in my career to have my nursing as well.
Yeah, and just kept your options open.
Yes.
Too.
Yep. Yeah. And I never thought about working in the intensive care unit, but after my first rotation as a nurse, I worked with the most amazing team on this crazy busy ward, and the educators at the time saw what I was doing on that ward and said, you're going to ICU next. Like just the calibre of your workload, how you work, everything about you, we want you to go to ICU. I'd never really thought about going to ICU. I was like, oh, okay, that sounds a bit wild. It's my first ever year of nursing and I'm going to the intensive care unit. Like, that's wild. And it was awesome.
What do you think they spotted about you? That, like, so now thinking, so you're really well established in your career.
Yeah.
What is it that you would spot, do you think, in someone that would make you go, oh, you should go into ICU?
Oh, excellent question. I think probably my maturity level, my knowledge, I just accepted every opportunity. Everything I just used to my advantage. If the first ward I worked on was wild. Like, the patients were so sick. The experiences we had were unreal, and I just embraced it. I just ran with it. And I think the fact that it was such an awesome team, like the nurses on that ward were phenomenal, and they just took me under their wing. They just supported me. They encouraged me. Nothing was too hard. If something looked too hard, they would come and help me with it. There was no such thing as a silly question. Yeah, I have a lot of gratitude for those nurses.
Steph, I feel like there's a theme coming through, which is it seems every sort of experience you have, you're like, oh, it just seems that they were great and they were supportive. I get a sense that you're also someone that chooses to like get the most out of things too.
Yeah.
So you choose to lean in and grab things, and like your work experience just happened that you got into this.
Yeah.
Then you had this manager spot you, or these people say you need to do this. Then you're on the ward, and then you say they were a great team, but it sounds like you were also asking the question.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think I just, as I said, I embrace every opportunity. This is what I'm presented with. Would I have ever picked to go on a ward like that? Never in a million years, because it was like gastromed. Like it was not something of interest to me, but it was phenomenal, and I learnt so much, and ended up being so much more than I was expecting. So I think the key message is don't write off opportunities. Don't write off experiences. If something's presented to you and it's not something you envisioned, it's not something that you saw yourself doing, give it a go, because you never know what it might lead to or what you might get out of it.
Angela Duckworth has this thing in her book Grit where it's like you've got your big driving goal. And so I'm interested when you, like, if you think of your pathway, and I know Laura's probably going to talk more about like as you go through to the next steps, I'd be really, really interested to hear what your big goal is that you always sort of come back to that drives what you do. Because it sounds like whatever opportunity presents itself, you almost check, does it align with this big thing? If so, I'll give it a go. And you're nodding.
Yeah.
So is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. As you go further, it kind of unfolds each opportunity I have. And Laura's always been involved in it. When a different opportunity comes up, I never really jump into it. I will stop and I'll think and I'll contemplate it and I'll sit on it and I'll talk to Laura, I'll talk to my family, and then I will give it a go. But it's not just, I'll do that. I sit with it, I think about it. I'm not great at making decisions. I kind of hesitate, which is wild, because I knew exactly what I wanted to do and I can make certain paths, but then other things I'm really indecisive.
At the same time, I've got to say though, you do have these conversations, you weigh things up, but you always then, it's always this moment, you're like, I just need to sit on my own. And she'll go and she'll sit on her own and you almost get this gut feeling of yes or no.
Yeah.
And that's what happens every time where we chat and we talk about the things, and you're like, I'll do like a meditation and I'll lie down by myself and then I'll just get a notebook and I'll just write down whatever the gut feeling is. And that's ultimately, in the end, I think how you always make your decisions.
Yeah. And it's always been the right decision.
Yeah. Yeah. Even with something that you were kind of like, it feels like a good for now. It was good for now.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't necessarily the role that was going to last a long time, but it was a role that satisfied some things for your nursing. It was a role that made sure that, and you know, being a mum now too, was actually able to work in with your family life. And then I think with the manager you met there, she was then the one that sort of motivated you to go to the next place. So even though in terms of the overall career, sometimes there are roles that are just like perfect for now.
Yes.
And I think that's what you were able to kind of see as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So now you're a mum of two. And so then you kind of looked at how you could make nursing work for you. And so you moved into agency work.
Yeah.
So talk about that.
Yeah. So after having my second child, I knew the hospital I had been working at for my whole career in midwifery just wasn't the right fit for me anymore. I returned between the kids to that hospital and it was just a different feel and it just didn't sit well with me anymore. And I thought, I need to try something else.
And you're in the public system at
that time. So I took some time off, and then when I was ready to go back to work, I decided to do some agency, which I'd done on and off throughout my career, which is where you work for an agency. So a hospital needs a staff member, they call out to the agency and then they contact you and you go and work. And I did one agency shift at a beautiful private hospital on the peninsula near me, and I was there. And at the end of the shift, the midwife said, "Can you come and work for us?" I said, I'm not sure. It wasn't on my radar. It wasn't even on my, on the horizon. I was just doing some agency to get out of the house, to get some extra cash, that sort of thing. And I said, I don't know. I'll think about it. The next week or so, I went back for another agency shift there, and they gave me the unit manager's card, and they said, you have to ring her. You have to speak to her. We need you to work for us. At the time, I had absolutely no intention of taking on a permanent job. I was literally just doing some agency. It was casual. Max wasn't even 2 yet. I just, that was all I was planning on doing. So then the unit manager is a midwife that I'd come across previously at a different hospital doing a different agency shift. So she was someone I knew. And she said to me, do you want a job here? And I said, honestly, I don't know. I was really upfront. I said, honestly, I don't know. I said, I've got 2 young kids. I don't want to do night shift. I only want to work a couple of days a week. I'm enjoying the flexibility of agency. I just don't know. And she goes, I can do all that for you, which is incredibly rare in midwifery. And she said, think about it. I said, okay. She goes, but all I'm going to say to you is these opportunities do not come up here at this hospital, because the people that worked there at the time had worked there forever. So unless they retired or went off to do something else, the jobs didn't come up there. So I sat on it for a couple of weeks. We had a chat.
Lots of conversations.
Dad, lots of conversations. Obviously with my husband as well, would have to, help out if I was working. And I thought, what have I got to lose? Let's give it a go. I never really anticipated working private. I was always a public-based midwife, but I was at a time in my life that work wasn't the same as what it was before I had kids. So before I had kids, work was my career. It was, the basis for everything. But now my family was more important, and I just liked the idea of working for something for me to keep myself in it, because you've got to stay current with midwifery. So that's what ended up happening. And I ended up working there for longer than I thought, because COVID hit. And it's a wild ride to be a health professional in COVID, but it was a really quite protected place to work. So yeah, that's where I worked for, I think, about 2 years.
So you're quite a while into your career, and you had such a clear picture in high school of what you were imagining.
Yeah.
Was the reality matching up to what you'd envisioned and hoped for and worked so hard for here at school?
Yeah. I loved midwifery when I first started working. I worked in a public hospital that had, again, I know I talk a lot about the people I work with, but it's a huge impact. Beautiful team of midwives. Obstetricians were fantastic. The women were awesome. It was a lot of people from different nationalities. So there was just so much to learn and so much to experience with them. I was able to work in a midwives program, which was probably the highlight of my career as being on the floor midwife, because there was a small group of midwives and we had our own women and we did everything for them. So we got to know them. We got to look after them in labour. We had all the autonomy that you don't tend to get these days as a midwife. And that was such a great experience. But I felt like I had done everything I needed to do in public at the time that I left. But it was exactly what I envisioned it would be.
And then you had this manager who was this really lovely, almost advocate for you.
Yeah.
And what did she then say to you that kind of spurred the next iteration of your career?
Yeah. So we sat down for like a performance appraisal, which you do often in midwifery. And she said to me, she goes, what's next for you? And I went, oh, what do you mean? What's next for me? And she goes, you can do so much more than what you're doing right now. She said, where do you see yourself? And I said, I've always loved the idea of doing something in midwifery education. And she looked at me and she goes, you have to do something in midwifery education.
And what's midwifery education?
So that's when you are educating the midwives. So whether it's working with undergrad students, working with graduate midwives, or just a general support with staff. I knew working with undergrads wasn't something I wanted to do. I'd done that a lot. And while I love the little bits of experience I've had in it, I just saw myself being more tailored to the people that are already qualified. That's just what is more of a passion for me. But when the manager said to me, that is what you need to do, she said you were just designed to do that role, I went, oh, the fact that she had seen that in me as well was a massive compliment, but it also actually made me think, maybe this is what I need to do. This is what I might need to pursue.
And so what did that decision look like to take on, because you did the Cert 4?
Yeah. The Cert 4 kind of just happened.
And what's the Cert 4? Just in
listening? Certificate for in training and assessing. So I knew I didn't want to do my master's yet. So you can do masters in midwifery and you can stream it into education. And just where I was in life with young kids wasn't for me at that time. So I'd had some surgery, which meant I wasn't able to work for a period of time, and I had to spend a lot of time on the couch. And I was sitting on the couch one day scrolling Facebook, as you do, and the ANMF, which is the Australian Nursing and Midwifery Federation, which is our union, put up an ad that they were doing this. They were offering the Cert 4 in training and assessing. And I thought, maybe now's the time to do that. And Mum had done it.
I've done it. I did it when I was at uni. I mean, I don't think I'm still.
Yeah, not still qualified.
No, I can't imagine.
But I remember talking to Mum about it. She's like, yeah, do it.
Now, Mum is a TAFE educator by trade too. So she's like, yeah, you could do that.
And I thought, I've done 2 uni degrees.
So 3 educators now in the family, is that the thing?
Yes. I was like, I'm sure I can do my TAFE course. It was so much harder than my degrees, and it was so much more work than I ever expected it to be. But that's what I ended up doing. So I did my Cert 4 in training and assessing, and then I thought, I've got to go back to the public system. So there's no education really opportunities in private, so I've got to go back to the public system. And I still had friends that worked in the public system at the time, and I thought, I better start doing bank because...
So what's that?
Casual midwifery within the public hospital system, because I hadn't worked in it, I think, for about 4 years by this time, and things changed so rapidly. I knew I had to get back into the public system to see all the changes and that sort of thing. And then one of my good friends sent me a job ad for a clinical support midwife, which is a midwife educator. And she said, you should apply. And I had that moment of doubt of, no, I don't work for the hospital. I've never had any experience in it. Why would they hire me when they could hire people within the network? And she said, what have you got to lose? Just apply. So I did. And I thought, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Like, there's nothing to lose. I've got to give it a go. It was the same network that I'd worked in previously. So I think that probably helped. And I ended up getting the job, which was wild. But that's what I'm doing now.
It's funny that you say that that's wild, but I feel like that's almost like a pattern that happens with you, is that even then similar to when you started uni, so you got back into the public system to keep your options available because you were in the public system. Someone then said, oh, hey, here's an opportunity. And then you said, I'll do some thinking. I'll consider if this is worth it. Yeah, I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
But you've done all the prerequisite steps to get the opportunity too.
Yeah.
And then you actually submitted for it.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, like, I think I was on maternity leave and we had like an elective at the school that I was working at. What was it called? Like, it was some kind of like, it was literally like child, I don't know, it was like a health elective, but it was really focused on babies and birth and that whole kind of experience. And one of the teachers found out that Steph was a midwife and asked me, do you think she'd come in and have a conversation with the kids? And it was a majority girls in that class, I think. And I'm like, yeah, I reckon she'd come in. And so I must have been doing emergency teaching at the time because I wasn't fully back. And I was like, I want to come. And I sat in the back and I watched. And to watch Steph speak about the thing that she's incredible at, passionate in, is the most incredible thing. Like, that teacher was still speaking about, those kids were still speaking about it. She stood up there and nothing was planned.
No.
They'd kind of sort of written some questions down and they sort of gave Steph this like few cards of questions, but it went for 90 minutes and the kids were on the edge of their seat the entire time. And I thought, well, this is why.
Yeah.
This is why people are like, you're the person, you need to come and do this. Like, the way that you spoke and the way you were so charismatic, knowledgeable, kind, compassionate with all the questions. And because some of them were tricky questions, some of them are really vulnerable questions from these kids. And the way you handled that with such care, I thought, well, that's why. That's why.
That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed doing that. Yeah, I liked that.
And there's this really interesting, I don't know if it's a thread or a theme of like learning an opportunity that keeps jumping out. And then you've been really clear from the get-go since you were really little about what you wanted to do, and you've just kept specialising and crafting and refining your talent.
Yeah.
And as you've gone, people have kept seeing that because you've kept putting in, it sounds like.
Yeah.
If you could run, I don't know, like a workshop for parents where it was how to help your kids maximise opportunities or like jump at opportunities, Like, what would be the key thing you'd put into that workshop for them?
You just have to be open-minded. Even my 10-year-old said to me the other day, Mum, I just don't know what I want to do when I'm older. Maybe I want to do a bit of this, maybe I want to do a bit of that. I just don't know what I want to do. And I just said to her, that's okay. I said, that's okay. And I think it's really important for people to know that I was very lucky. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. But not everybody does. And when I picked my year 12 subjects, I picked my prerequisite subjects, but then the rest of them were things I enjoyed. They were things I liked, and they ultimately were things that were going to lead to the career I wanted. But even if I didn't do nursing, those subjects were things I enjoyed. Health I loved, biology I loved, PE. I'm not sporty by any means, but I liked the theory behind it. And I think if you can just talk to your kids about what do they enjoy, because if you do something you enjoy, you're going to be more invested in it. You're going to be more motivated in it. If I had to sit there and do chemistry and physics, I would have tuned out. They're not for me. It's not what I was interested in. And I know a lot of my friends that didn't know what they wanted to do, they really struggled in year 12 because they didn't have that motivation of, well, what's this going to lead to? But if they were just able to pick the subjects they wanted to do without knowing what it was going to lead to, I think they would have done really well in year 12. Yeah. So I don't know if I answered that question at all.
No, I think so. Like, well, I'll test if I was listening correctly. So if it was like, if I was sitting in a workshop to learn how to be more like Stef, it'd be really spot the interests.
Yeah.
It's not just about what you have to do, but like, what are the interests? What are the things I want to spend my time doing?
Yeah.
And then get really clear on that, and then start to almost, if I was in year 12 or year 11 planning subjects, then start to say, well, what are the ones that could help that there's a connection between subjects and what I'm actually interested in.
Yeah.
And then from there, there's a whole bunch of possibilities for what you could go do.
Yeah. And I work with people.
Did I get that right?
Yeah, you're right. Oh. And I think our careers are often changing. I work with people that are midwives now because they've done it later in life. They've previously been hairdressers. They've previously worked in admin. They've previously done numerous things. And they've had their own families or they've had their own experiences and they went, now I want to do something different. And that's okay because in year 12, what you plan to do may not be what you do in 15 years' time. You can change your mind. You can change your path. So if your kids don't know what they want to do, that's absolutely fine. If they do know what they want to do, great. You can help them get there. But I think not knowing is almost exciting because you can just choose what you want to do, what interests you, and see what it leads to.
So another Stef workshop thing would be open-mindedness.
Yeah.
And how you stay open-minded.
Yeah.
And then also zooming out to see there's a lot of time, like keep remembering to zoom out.
Yeah.
Sorry, Laura.
That's okay. I just wanted to jump in because ultimately the role you're doing now is not the role you would have ever thought you were going to do when you moved out. As much as you knew, I wanted to do this, I wanted to be a midwife, what you're now doing, and I mean, we've had these conversations around if I put you back into the roles you were doing in your early 20s, you don't want to do those now.
No.
You don't want to do those now.
No.
And so this is the whole idea of the evolution of a career, right?
Yes.
Like as much as you loved those things you were doing in the first 5 years of nursing, if I said to you, you've got to do that shift again, you'd be like, no, thanks. I'm not there now.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's just about following what lights you up then without feeling like, well, I'm here for 25 years, 30, this is it. It's like, no, well, this is what you're doing now. You're enjoying it. Another opportunity might kind of splinter off and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You can live in the now. Yeah.
And Stef, someone listening might be thinking, but Stef, you're so successful. You were clear on what you needed to do. Like it sounds like it could be really, really easy. For someone that hasn't seen the things that skills that you didn't have since finishing school, what are things that you've had to learn that school didn't actually prepare you for?
Yeah.
Everyone has things that they don't know. For you, what are the things you've had to learn that you weren't prepared for?
You have to learn how to navigate people. You can't be taught how to manage people. I am involved in people in one of the most vulnerable and one of the most scary times in their life. Also one of the most beautiful and enjoyable. But I will deal with people in incredibly challenging times and no one teaches you how to do that. So you can go to uni and they can teach you how to take a blood pressure. They can teach you how to, feel someone's tummy to work out where their baby is. But if you have someone, like the other day, I walked into a room to help with the girls and this woman grabbed me and she goes, I'm going to die. And I just sat with her and I said, you are okay. You are okay. I know you're scared, but you are safe. And if you feel scared, you just look at me and remember what I've said. You can't learn things like that. You can't. And
we can't be taught things like that, maybe.
We have to read a whole bunch of books about how to manage yourself, how to manage others, but then you have to go apply it in situations.
And you have to be adaptable. So and I always say that about birth suite. I said it's unpredictable. You've got to roll with the punches. 1 minute, everything can be absolutely normal, no issues. The next minute, you're running down the corridor to an operating theatre. I said you have to sense that. You have to be adaptable and you have to navigate things as you go. And you don't learn that at uni. You can't learn that at uni. And that's what I'm teaching the students and the staff that I work with now. Yep. Because I've had that experience and I don't know everything. I certainly don't know everything. And some situations are really foreign to me as well. But you've got to be adaptable and you can't teach someone that. And I think you have to be adaptable in a lot of jobs. I don't think it's just ours. I would say teaching would be exactly the same.
I just remember when we were having our eldest, she had like some complications when she was being born and the room was always very calm. So I'm just thinking of like I'm fascinated with all your skills in like how you manage yourself to appear and be and sound calm. Like you even changed the way you were sitting just before when you said like, I'm here with you.
Yeah.
Because I remember at one point, the proverbial must have been hitting the fan. She must have been hitting the fan.
Yeah.
And we turned around suddenly right near the door to the room. There was a whole bunch of we had our midwife there and then we had all these other people. But I didn't notice anything until afterwards and I realized, they got a call because something could have really gone wrong. But everyone was so calm. And I had no idea and that kept my wife absolutely calm, prepared, all that sort of stuff. So it's pretty amazing though. It sounds like you know how to manage yourself and how to also manage people that you've learned too.
Yeah, you do have to learn how to manage yourself because you can be absolutely petrified on the inside. You can be like, oh God, I don't know how this is going to go. But you have to put that demeanor on so that the woman doesn't see that. Because this is her experience and we could be absolutely freaking out behind the scenes. You don't want them to see that. So you have to have that demeanor. You have to have that poise. And then afterwards, you can say to them, that was really scary for us as well. But we wanted you to feel safe. And it's really important for us that you feel safe.
Oh, Laura, it's such a crazy, uncertain world right now. Can I try and get a tip from you, Steph? Because knowing that right now for anyone that's, I don't know, Gen Z or anyone that's currently at school or just out of school, they're going into a really complex, uncertain time. What are the techniques or the skills that you have for when things are really ambiguous, uncertain, that help you stay calm? Because I'm imagining that could be of help.
Yeah. Look, as Laura said earlier, I'm a very big believer in trusting my gut. So I will pause. I will just sit on something and if it feels okay, then I know it will be okay. And I just trust that feeling. And I think it's just if you get so overwhelmed and you think, I can't do this, just stop and take a deep breath. It sounds ridiculous, I know, but when it comes to exams, a lot of people get really overwhelmed doing exams and they can't think beyond, I've got to sit this exam. I'm not going to be able to do it. It's going to be really, really hard. Just have a deep breath. Take one question at a time. Just go through one question at a time. Don't overthink it. Don't think what's ahead. Just take it one step at a time. And I always say that to my labouring women. Just take one contraction at a time. No one knows how long you're going to be in labour for. You could be in labour for an hour, you could be in labour for 5 hours, for 24 hours. One contraction at a time. And I'd say the same for the kids doing year 12. One sack at a time, one exam at a time. Just get through what you need to get through without thinking too far in advance.
I'm even thinking from a sports context. We had a rugby coach that used to say, if you missed a tackle or if there was some sort of thing you did, you can't change that. So just think, what's the next one thing you're going to do? Just focus on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does success now mean to you? And has it changed?
It's definitely changed. Yeah, definitely changed. Success now isn't necessarily like a career or anything like that. I just think success now is being happy, having a happy family, and just living a life that you're grateful to be living and happy living. Yeah. It's not about money, definitely, because I didn't pick that career.
Steph, what haven't we asked you about that your partner would tell us we should ask you about?
Ooh. Excellent question.
They know you very well.
He would say, ask her what's next.
Ooh, Steph.
He loves to be like, what's next? And I have to say, around the same time I had the conversation with the manager, he said to me, what do you want to do next? What's next for you? And I stopped and went, oh, I haven't really thought about that. But he just leaves those little questions, those little comments of, what do you want to do next? Like, if you're happy doing what you're doing, cool. But if you want to do something else, what will it be? What do you want to do? So I think he would say, what's next for you? And my honest answer right now is I'm not sure. I know the role I'm doing at the moment is great for the moment, but it's not something I'm going to do forever. And I never knew that this was what I wanted to do until recently. So I think what's next for me will present itself when the timing's right.
Sounds like you're going to go trust your gut, go talk to the family.
Yeah.
Laura's there ready, waiting for the conversation.
Yeah.
But that sounds like that's your process and you're really and like you just said that really comfortably. You're like, I'm not too sure, but I know there'll be a process I go through.
Yeah. Well, I think if life has taught you anything, the opportunity will arise.
Yeah.
And you will have the moment to consider and contemplate and decide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steph, earlier, I know I said that was the last question, and I realised earlier I mentioned that thing by Angela Duckworth about like your big goal. So if you had to say in a really small way what's like your big driving thing, and to give you time to think, do you want me to share what my one is?
I actually love Dan's one.
So my one is to inspire people to do more than they thought is possible. So as long as I'm always coming back to that. So my thing's that. So the way I did it was as a classroom teacher, then as an assistant principal. I now work with like leaders in different schools and doing this. So as long as it always comes back to that big overarching, I guess, meaning or purpose, that's what I always come back to. And that helps me sort of differentiate. Have I also padded out enough? So now you've thought of...
I actually just love yours.
Oh.
I actually just went, that's epic. I really like that.
Break it in and then break it into smaller parts.
Do you know what? I think I would love for everybody to see their own potential. I would love everybody to see their own potential and to just get the most out of their life. Yeah, that would be mine.
Ooh, okay. I'm looking forward to seeing what the next iteration is as you go to do that.
Yeah,
with
it will be interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Steph, for coming on the pod.
You're welcome.
Yeah, your first time. Yeah, you're like, I don't know if I've got much to say. And an hour later, I would say you had a fair bit to say.
Yes.
So if you do have any other stories, or if you know people similar to Steph or different to Steph that are ready to share their story and talk to us, reach out to us at morethanascorepod@gmail.com. Or you can also get on the socials, everyone, at morethanascorepod on Insta.
Are you following us? Are you following us?
Yes, I'm
lucky. I'm like, Stephanie.
Lucky. Steph, thanks so much. It was such a pleasure.
You.
Thanks for having me, guys.
It's good.
Oh, that was well done.
Yeah, thanks, Martha.
We also have a little tradition. Can we try and do a crisp high five?
Oh, yes. Oh.
Is that a crisp high five? Just a high five. So can we do that? She's not sure.
She's like one of two girls. She's like, what's a crisp high five? Just a good high five.
Oh, sure.
That was pretty good. That was a good one. That was good.
Steph has big hands. So it's
I think you've just got regular, normal hands.
No, you do. You do.
Oh.
No, I think it makes you a good midwife, maybe. Catching the baby.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't trying to be insulting.
It sounded.
No, it's a good one.
You've got pianist's hands.
It did play that. Yeah, my daughter has the same.
You used to play piano.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
And the big. Yeah.
And I just heard you say to catch babies. Is what you also said?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
All right, let me turn this off.
Hilarious.
Oh, Steph, that's awesome.